Welcome to the Believe, Be Real, Be Bold podcast for authentic daters. I'm your host, Dave in Denver. Each week, we invite expert guests to come share their knowledge, tools, and tips to help you show up as your most authentic self. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the BBR podcast. I'm so ecstatic to introduce a pair of guests from across the country. Ms. Laura Menze and Ms. Lori Davis are here. Thanks, guys, for being here. How are you?
Great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Lori, where are you hailing from? Where are you calling in from?
I am in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Amazing. And Laura is local here in Denver. How did you two meet?
Let Lori answer that question.
Okay, I'll answer that question. We were both coaches on a documentary series called Radical Dating. And we met on the show when we were filming, and we just really hit it off as friends and as coworkers. And we've just been kind of in touch ever since.
And out of that friendship and co-working, we now have this beautiful collaboration called the Radical Love Summit. And how and why did you get started there?
That was already Laura's, so I'll let her talk about that one.
There's two different things we're talking about here. We've got the Radical Love Summit, which is something that I've been running. This is the second year it'll be happening, which is an in-person event in Denver for singles to meet other singles as well as to learn about love and relationships. And we like to say that we like to revolutionize your ideas of love and relationship. And out of that also came a need for supporting, of course, singles as well as love professionals. Many people don't know that love professionals even exist. And that can include dating and relationship coaches, sex and intimacy coaches, matchmakers, all sorts of things like that. So we built a platform called Radical Love that is in support of both love professionals and love seekers, is what we like to call it, to help them find love and kind of support both ends of the coin there.
That's amazing. And what was the determining factor to come together as a team in order to kind of fulfill this purpose?
Well, we need more love in the world, for sure. And you know, this is what we're building here is not a little thing. It's quite a big empire, so to speak, that has a lot of moving parts. And Lori and I just have built such a wonderful friendship between each other and have same motivation, same values, lots of things that were in high alignment. And doing this together just felt right. It just felt like the right thing to do together.
We have that same passion, I think, that we really want. We want individuals to find love, but the more individuals that find love and the more couples that are out there that are happy, the more love that there is in the world and the more that spreads. And we both share that passion in life and enjoy spending time together and enjoy working together. And like she said, it's a big endeavor. So for one person to take it on, we thought that it would be not only fun to do together, that it would really serve other people and also serve us. It kind of started, remember, Laura, where we talked about the last time we were together out in LA at the final filming. We were talking about how great it would be that we didn't want to lose the connection that we had. And so we started just supporting each other in our lives and in our businesses on a regular basis. And then through that, you know, Laura started talking about these ideas she had, things she wanted to do, and one thing led to another, and we have a partnership now.
Yeah,
that's incredible. Who is it that you find coming to you most?
Well, Laura, you deal with singles.
Yeah, I primarily coach and work with singles in my own individual business. Laura and I each have our own individual businesses. So in my business, it's working with singles who want to become ready for a relationship and do the work that it takes on the front end so that they don't need so much help on the back end of relationships. That's primarily my focus. And what's important is that Lori and I do have our own businesses as well. and we do know what it's like to try to build a business in this industry. We've both had many years of working at it and understand that there's a need to support those other love professionals out there. It's kind of an isolated place to be, and we wanted to build a community to support those love professionals and let people know, create that awareness, create and shift the culture into a place that not only is it normal to know that love professionals exist, but it's normal to seek out a love professional for help, because most people learn about love and relationships from their parents, and most of them have been dysfunctional, like my own, and or the media. And the media, I tell you, will not put a healthy relationship on TV, in books, nothing, because we want to watch and hear about the train wreck.
Right.
Because it would be like crickets if we were listening to a healthy couple who knew how to handle contrast or conflict. It would just be kind of boring to watch, but wonderful to be in and involved in.
Yeah. And then my background is I was a marriage and family therapist for over 25 years, and then made that transition to coaching about 5 years ago. So I, just like Laura does, I also deal with singles who are getting ready to date. But I also work with couples who don't have those skills necessarily and don't have those good backgrounds. And so they're dealing with the dysfunction that they've each brought to the relationship. And are realizing that because of that, the relationship isn't working, or they've had some sort of crisis in their relationship, and they need to bond together through that. So that's important too. You know, we don't, even if we find the right partner, it doesn't mean it's smooth sailing forever. There can be bumps in the road. There can be external things that happen. You can go through changes as a person, which can cause sometimes some issues in your relationship. So instead of trying to deal with that on your own and ending the relationship, which is what I think normally happens, people go through that spot, they get frustrated with not being able to get things resolved. And so what's the first thing people do? They go get a divorce, 2 different divorce attorneys, right? And then it really gets nasty. So if they would reach out and get some help, and the sooner they get the help, the easier and the quicker it is to put them back on track. But if they would reach out and get that help, a lot of times we can turn things around for them and really get them going in a positive direction. And then they can have a better relationship than they ever dreamed was possible before they sought that help. If they only knew that that was the outcome that could come out of that, I think that they would seek help sooner.
I totally agree. And that seems like the foundation of your philosophy, that the world needs more love, kind of attracts that type of person to you. Mm-hmm. So let's say that one person wants to grow and the other one doesn't. How do we approach the person who doesn't want to grow or is just so stuck?
Yeah, so I talk about that in the book that I wrote. I talk about that in stuff I published, and obviously deal with it with clients. When you are learning how to show up as the best partner you can be, and you're learning, men and women are very different, and what they want and need in relationships are different. And so when you understand what your partner really needs to feel truly loved and accepted and connected in a relationship, and you start showing up as the best partner you can be, regardless of what they're doing at that moment, frequently that can turn the relationship around. We're intertwined like this. So if you change one part of the system, the whole system can change. Now, sometimes that works out the way we want it to, and the other person really starts to come around. Sometimes through doing that, you can learn that the other person really isn't capable of being the partner that you need or you want. But it's still better to find that out, grow yourself, and then be able to maybe walk away from that relationship without all of the drama and the arguing and negativity. So I always tell people, worst case scenario is maybe the relationship isn't the right one, but at least you're going to handle it in a more mature way. And you're going to learn all about you and what you need. So you're going to take those same skills and you'll be able to apply those to the next relationship and make sure that the next one's the right one.
Very well said. So much better than I could even conceptualize it. But I can kind of picture one leader in the relationship kind of inspiring the other person to kind of be led forth on that journey without any pressure. Is that probably the best way to kind of sum it up?
Yeah, and think about it. If all of a sudden you feel truly seen, heard, accepted, and loved by your partner, and that's not been happening, you are much more likely to then want to show them love and want to do good things for them. So even if you don't get why you feel that way, when you feel filled up, you want to give back to your partner. So if one person's coming and the other one's not, if they start showing up as this really great partner and start really doing the right things in the relationship, chances are the other person's going to come along and really want to be a better partner themselves. And they're just automatically going to start showing more appreciation and more love because they're feeling it. And then at that point, sometimes then they might be willing to come in, and talk to me or somebody else.
And a big part of Radical Love's mission is to help people learn how to navigate these things prior to them happening. Just knowing how to handle conflict between you and your partner. What does each partner need when they recognize that they're in conflict? Maybe you need them to, turn off all their electronic gadgets and TV and give undivided attention. Maybe you need to feel hugged or something, understanding, I call the rules of engagement. Understanding your rules of engagement between you and your partner and honoring that in them and their needs and in each other can really go a long way in just knowing how to manage that conflict in the beginning before it becomes an issue.
Yeah,
So
obviously. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. So trying to help people on the front end of issues before the issues happen.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Good. Good, like preventative maintenance in your health, preventative maintenance in your car, but we're applying that to our relationship as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
And that's definitely like a hard concept for people to maybe practice or grasp onto. How do we make it so simple and so clear that they actually want to do that?
When they start with us, or, if we get them as a single person, then they've already understood how coaching can be beneficial. And so they know that it's helped them to pick the right person. They've gone through that process and they get that. So now when they get into a relationship and maybe they start to have a little bit of difficulties or some of those conversations aren't going as well as they want, the first thing they're going to do is, send you a text or an email and say, we need a session to deal with this, because they've already experienced it. They've already get that. For the other people, I think we just have to remind them that you seek education anytime you want to learn to be better at something, right? So what's the difference about seeking education, seeking some knowledge, some guidance, if you want your relationship to be better? And to me, it's kind of a no-brainer, but I don't think, I've heard so many people say when I meet them and I tell them what I do, and I know the same things happened with Laura, we didn't even know that existed. We didn't even know that there was anything. They think about marriage therapy, but when they think about marriage therapy, they think about, they think about marriages that are about over, or marriages that, and they think about two couples sitting in the office arguing with each other and it not being pleasant. And I always tell people, I don't do that. I don't do that anymore. It didn't work really well, which is why I don't do it anymore. And I always say, it's going to be a different experience. Coaching is very different. We're there supporting you, giving you maybe some tools that you need, but supporting and guiding you to get to where you want to be. And so if people just understood, I think, that it's different than that concept that they have, they would be much more willing.
Good. Laura, anything to add on to that?
I really want to let the audience understand that the stuff and the information that you learn from any sort of love or relationship professional applies everywhere. It's not just in your intimate relationship or in dating. What if you had these skills and you apply them to your corporate life? What if you had applied these skills to the places that you volunteer? Friendships, parents, family. You can change your family dynamic just by learning a few different skills here regarding radical love. And it's all about doing things radically different. So if we can help them do some things that are radically different or radically in the context of today's day and age, hopefully that'll become the norm. That's what we're trying to accomplish here.
Right, absolutely. So making radical change to the maybe construct of relationships that we've been taught, to change patterns that we're used to repeating so that we can actually show up entirely better in every phase of our life. Is that the best way to sum it up?
Absolutely, because if you think about it, relationships are everything. You cannot escape it at all. It's all part of your life. When you die, they're not going to say he or she was a great employee on your tombstone. They're going to talk about the relationships that you had. And wouldn't it be important for you to do some investing in yourself and learning that skill set and having that apply not just to your intimate relationships, but your family, your friends, your coworkers, your boss? All that could just shift and change in such a positive direction just by learning a few different skills.
Right. And the research shows that when we're not happy in our relationships, that bleeds over into every aspect of our lives. It affects our health. There's been research that have shown that the research happened to be on men, but I can't imagine it's different for women, that men that were happily married earn more money. So, I use that with people sometimes. It's like, so if we're happier in our relationships, if we're happier in our relationships at work, we're going to be happier at home. If we're happier at home, we're going to be more productive at work. Our health is going to be better. So it affects every single aspect of our lives. So when we think about it in that way, why would you not want to improve your relationships? And then, I'm a mother, so I still have children I have one that's grown, but two that aren't. So when you think about that, what are we passing on to our children, to the next generation? So if we can learn to be showing better skills in relationships, they're seeing that. So they're absorbing some of that, which means that the next generation is going to have the opportunity to start off maybe ahead of where we were. I think I was lucky. My grandparents had a pretty good relationship and I got to see that. But, we're also giving to the next generation.
It's a ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Pass it on. And as I was getting to know you guys better, I came across this word that was repeating, and that's values. Mm-hmm. Where do values come into play in radical love?
In my opinion, values are your North Star, your guiding light, everything needs to align with your values. So the people that you choose to be in your life, the jobs or projects that you choose to work on, the places that you choose to live, like everything has to align with your values for you to feel a very fulfilled life. I don't know if Lori wants to add to that.
Just a little bit. Like I totally agree with that. And I look at it as when you're picking a partner, or and this could be a partner for anything. It could be a business partner, but I'm thinking about romantic partners. The values to me they're like the foundation of the house. They're the building blocks. So if you've got that solid foundation, so you're picking somebody that matches your values, now what you start to build on top of that is solid. If the foundation isn't strong, my dad was a custom home builder, so I guess that's where I get this. If the foundation isn't strong, what you put on top's not going to last. It's going to crack and it's going to start to fall apart. So that's how I explain it to my clients sometimes. We're looking for somebody that it's going to make your whole relationship, the rest of your relationship, easier. if these values align, you've got that solid foundation to build the relationship upon. And how many of you like were ever taught that that's how you should pick a partner? Like, so yeah, it's a
We're just
different
taught
radical way of looking at it.
and we're just taught, oh, it feels right, right? Just to go on the feeling. Well, I gotta tell you, those feels right comments are all about your hormones. And if you're letting your hormones make the choices and decisions, you might be in a whole heap of trouble.
Yeah.
Sure, there's definitely a truth to that. We must trust our intuition, though, and that can be separated from our hormones, and it can be separated from our overthinking brains.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have values as a foundation in the relationship, we also have to trust behaviors over words. Is that not true?
Absolutely. Walk is more important than the talk.
Yeah, that's that whole part of, once you think somebody is what you're looking for, you've got to date them for a while. You have to get to know them and see, are they really who they say they are? So just believing somebody at face value can be dangerous, right? I've run into so many people that somebody presented really well, they married them pretty quickly, and then discovered that they were somebody totally different. So you do have to give somebody some time. You have to see them through good times and so not so good times, and then you get a clear picture of who they are. Watch how they interact with other people. Watch the stories they tell. Yes, their walk has to match their talk.
And along the way, how much grace and compassion do we have for that other person as we're getting to know them, as we're dating them, taking the time?
I love that. That's so important, right? How many people do you know that make instant judgments? That judge people too quickly. So I don't know if Laura has like what exactly she tells her clients, but I always tell my clients, give somebody an extra few dates, unless you're absolutely sure. Because, and what I've noticed when I run big groups and we talk about this is that somebody acts a certain way and people put a judgment on that, and they assume that that judgment that they've made about why the person did that. For example, the person shows up on a first date and they do too much talking. They say too much about themselves. And the other person says, well, they didn't care about me. They didn't ask anything about me. And I always say, so go out with them again and see what happens. Maybe they were nervous and that was their way of compensating for being nervous. Maybe they just wanted you to know a lot about them so you could decide if you wanted to go out with them again. Maybe nobody said to them they really should have asked more about you. Now, if you go out on a couple of dates and that's been their pattern and they still didn't ask about you, well, yeah, your assessment's probably correct. But how many times do people disregard somebody from one thing without realizing that there could be different ways to think about it? And that if they gave that person a chance, they might have met somebody who was a wonderful potential match, but they just didn't give them enough time.
And I have a lot of clients who have their checklist. And they want to figure out all the things that person might meet or not meet on their checklist on the first date. And to someone receiving that, it feels like the Spanish Inquisition. It doesn't feel like a loving, caring, thoughtful date. And so to those people, I just say, you know what, on your first date, just ask yourself, what did it feel like to be with this person? What did it feel like? Just get a gauge of their energy. And do I want to know more? That's it. Those are the only two questions you need to ask yourself on a first date. You don't need to pull out the whole list and start asking questions about everything on the list. You just need to know if you need to know more and want to know more about them. Then as dates go on, you ask some questions regarding that list, but don't pull out the whole list all at once. That's just really uncomfortable for everyone. And so that's a great way to show some compassion, just by assessing the energy between the two of you. Not the chemistry, the energy.
Right. And think about, can you leave the person feeling good about themselves from the date with you? Even if you decide you don't ever want to see them again, I love the idea of leaving them feeling good about the experience. Because we're putting good out into the world. We're showing grace, we're showing compassion, we're showing kindness. And if we're practicing that on every date that we go out on, whether the person's going to be right for us or not, then we're showing up in a way to attract the people that we want to attract.
We want to be loved, right? And so being on a date and being loving, giving what you're wanting is what is important. If you know, the energy that you put out in the world is the energy you get back. So if you're being judgmental and hostile and closed off, guess what you're getting in return? But if you're being loving and caring and thoughtful and compassionate, guess what might happen in return? So just a thought.
A good one.
That's a great thought to move forward. And something that you mentioned in the middle there, having a checklist, to me, would take out some of the enjoyment of the actual process of getting to know somebody. But there's another checklist that I came across when I was looking up radical love, and that's the red flag checklist.
Yeah, it's an important checklist to keep your blinders off, because a big part of what Lori and I coach on is balancing your head with your heart and your hormones, because all three are making decisions for you, whether you believe it or not. And so many times our hormones take over in the beginning, especially if there's a lot of chemistry and attraction. And we tend to overlook, avoid, just abandon any signs that are true red flags. And that checklist is not just for the first date. It's not just for the third date. It's not just for the 300th date. You're going to continue to learn more and more about this person as you date them. So you're going to want to check back in with the checklist just to see, am I keeping my blinders off? Did I notice some things? Because it helps you remain objective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't tell you how many people I've given that to, and they've looked at it and said, oh, I wish I had this before with the last person I was dating, or I wish I had this earlier. You know, I would have avoided, you know, some really actual painful relationships if they could have seen those patterns. And it doesn't mean that you look at the checklist and there's one thing on there and you go, oh, nope, won't date them anymore, right? So you're looking for patterns. You're looking for, because some of the things on there can be, you can go, well, that could happen with anybody on a bad day. So it's not a one-time thing. It's patterns. And some of the things on there, if they show up once, that's enough. You know, just kind of depends on what it is. But
and
sure.
A red flag doesn't necessarily mean, okay, run. It means there needs to be some investigation work done here. I need to know more. You know, it's a flag saying I need to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. And there can be communication with each other on some of those red flags, and then the others, like you were saying, Lori, tuck tail and run. So that's a tough conversation to bring up, though. Is like, hey, I recognize this on date number 2. Can I ask you a follow-up question? Is that an appropriate way to address a kind of a concern?
It depends upon the energy and the communication patterns that you've established with this person. It's important to be direct about things, but when you're assessing things for yourself, and part of what I do is help clients come up with ways they can find these things out without asking directly. Because if you ask directly, they're going to tell you, "Oh no, I'm not like that at all." You know, they're not going to own it typically. So you're wanting to, quote unquote, test them by putting scenarios and experiences in your dating with them so that you can see how they actually react.
Yeah, there's creative ways to have, and then the dates feel better too. So instead of asking them questions so it feels like an inquisition, you know, you can start, if you're concerned about family values or something, you know, you can start talking about family values. Or if somebody says something and you go, oh, wait a minute, you know, instead of assuming, you could say, well, tell me a little bit more about that. And so, you know, you really can just find out about the things. And then the date feels better. It feels more like just a conversation. You know, tell me a little bit more about where you grew up. Did you like where you grew up? What was it like? What were your favorite memories? You know, I mean, so there's just creative things that feel like just good conversations. You're learning more about the person, and you're learning about some of those areas that you want to know more about by having those conversations.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I know that your time is valuable, so I won't take too much more of it, but if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
Go to radical-love.com and just click contact us. And those who sign up for a new membership, which is is a free version of the membership, will get the red flags dating checklist when they sign up.
I love that red flag dating checklist. That's what I discovered when I was perusing the website, and I just had to ask about it because it's so necessary for us to actually enjoy the process of getting to know somebody else. Lori, how about yourself? Is that where you'd like to direct people to? Is the Radical Love?
Yeah, we are both on there. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good. Awesome. And tell me about this live event that you have coming up next year.
So April 27th, it's the Radical Love Summit, has about 15 plus speakers for you to choose from and learn all about love and relationships. We'll also have a whole bunch of vendors providing things that singles and love seekers would be interested in, as well as an evening event with a sponsor. We're still working out the details of the evening event, but I can tell you that last year we were hosting the dating game. It was a ton of fun. We had one of the local radio DJs as the host of the dating game for that evening, and everybody just had a ball. So you get to learn a lot of things during the day, meet other singles, and have some fun and relax and let loose at night and see what happens. Maybe you'll meet somebody.
Maybe.
That's a good opportunity to kind of, one, set ourselves up for success, but also to, again, enjoy the process of learning more about yourself, to set yourself up for that, maybe the next time you go out with somebody new, and then you get to learn more about them. And I really respect what you guys are doing, pulling together practitioners, singles in the area that just happens to be in Denver, and authenticity. So before we close out for the day, Laura, what does that word mean to you? And could you leave us with just a little bit of a key nugget that could help us out being more authentic?
That's a darn good question. So authenticity to me is just being your true self, and as loving as possible. Many of us want to be loved, so it's about being who you are and being loving around that. I don't know what Lori, what's your?
I do. I think it means knowing what's important to you and wanting to draw in those people that match that. And at the same time, the people that don't, just blessing them and letting them go because there's somebody perfect for them. So staying out of that judgment thing. Like, we're clear about what we want and what we need, and that's what we're looking for. And the people that don't fit into that, we can just lovingly release back into the dating pool or back out. And so we're staying in that space of love, I think, all the time, as much as possible, while being assertive about what's important to us.
Good. And how does somebody stay hopeful and faithful and positive during this whole process, beyond giving somebody else grace, beyond not judging somebody? How do they bring that back to themselves in 30 seconds or less?
Mindset, right? Mindset is what you say to yourself on a daily basis. That's my part.
Yeah, I would agree with Lori. It's definitely a mindset and self-nurturing, right? Because we get rejected, we feel awful, we stumble out of the dating pool and we want to get back in again, but we're just not ready. And many times it's just about nurturing your soul and loving yourself, and showing yourself a bit of compassion so that you can get back out there again.
Phenomenal. Thank you so very much for that advice and for your time today. I know you're both very busy, so I'll let you head back out into the world to create a whole lot more love. And what do you say in the next 6 to 12 months, we jump back on, we collaborate, and we figure out a way that we can bring more love to the world.
We'd love that.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Thanks, you two. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.